Hello everyone. Am I audible?
Hi Diksha, yes you are.
Okay. So, hello everyone. I'm Diksha Tohar and today we'll be talking about open source and open force thing. Firstly, I would like to introduce you all to our speaker who will be telling you about open source, Siddhi Gupta. Can you introduce yourself now?
Yes, sure. Thank you Diksha. Hi everyone, my name is Siddhi Gupta. I am currently an open source lead at GDSC Calendly. I'll be talking about open source, letting you all know about GitHub and Git. Super excited to start. Diksha, can we start right now or?
You can go first.
Yes, sure. Alright guys, I just want you all to be really engaging during the entire presentation. So feel free to, yes, please let us know you're ready to learn. Are you? Yes, Sahar. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Hitain, Arpita, Janan Sheen, Anu, Bhavna, Harshita, Harsh. Okay, so before we begin with the actual thing, I actually want to know from all of you that how many of you know about some bits about open source, some bits about Git, or some bits about GitHub. Does any one of you know anything about these three things? If you know about any of these, then just write open source, GitHub, Git. जिसके बारे में पता है उसके बारे में you can just write the name GitHub. Nice, Arpita. Anyone else? Open source. Git GitHub. Open source and GitHub. Nice, Sakshi. Well, I guess then all of us know some one of the three things at least, and the three things are pretty similar. We're just gonna learn today how to connect these three things, and start contributing. So before I begin, I just want to know that does Hindi and a mix of Hindi and English works for all, or do we have someone who cannot understand Hindi? All right, thank you, Hitain. Yes, if you are okay with Hindi and English, please. Thank you. Great. So we'll talk. Great. English it is. Perfect. We're good to go. Akansha, can you stop presenting? Because I want to present my presentation. Thank you. Great, Manish. Thank you all for letting me know. I would like to know now that is my screen visible? Okay, give me 1 minute because I'll also join from another device to check your. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, I've joined from two devices. I want to know from Arpita or Akansha or Diksha. Is the voice echoing?
No, it isn't.
All right.
No, Siddhi, it's perfect.
All right, great. So make sure that along the way you are telling me your doubts, telling me your thoughts about each and everything, so that this can be really interactive and engaging. We'll have some bits of practical demos too. So get ready. For it, let's start. So open sourcing a developer journey, what exactly is open sourcing? Let's see what are we going to learn today. We're going to learn about open source, GitHub, events. The most important section is the third section because the knowledge that you have about open source and GitHub won't matter till you actually contribute or start contributing it in real world. Starting with the basics, I would like to know from you guys actually. Now, what do you think is an open source software? To everyone who said that they know some bits about open source, anything you want to tell me? You're free to unmute yourself and explain your theories.
Hi.
Yes.
What I understand from open source is that is my voice echoing? Firstly,
Not a lot, a bit, just a bit.
okay. So open source, from what I understand from that, is basically that a person writes a code for a software. If you're talking about open source software, and then they post it online so that other people can also contribute to that.
Pretty much, you've got it. Anyone else would like to contribute? I was seeing one. I guess software letting you change. Nice. Yes, 29. What is that name? I'm not able to see the name, but you can.
Yes, actually I was there. So open source is something which everyone can access freely. It's available for all.
Okay, all right. This freely part that you said, it is very crucial to understand. But yes, some part is correct. And others can change the code too, I think. Project software, everyone can contribute whose programming is available on the internet. So yes, most of you got it that, open source software is a software where the source code is available to the public as well. Now, when I talk about is it free always or is it not? So the basic functionality of an open source software is always free, but open source makes money through some commercial or through some added features which cost you money. So that is why I want to, as Vanshik is saying, that freely. So it's not always important that the whole open source software is free to use. Sometimes some additional benefits that functionalities that you are using can require you to purchase them separately. Now, since we're talking that open source is free to use, it is free to modify, it is available for everyone. Does open source has an actual owner? Yes, the open source software has an owner. The owner is the one that made the basic functionality of that open source software. So I'm going to take an example of GitHub, or I'm going to take an example of Linux. Linux and GitHub both are open source platforms. So both the source code for everything, both of these are available on the net. You guys can modify it. You guys can contribute to it, change it, or even use it. But the owner remains the person who made the basic functionality. So yes, and coming to the third point, which is how do we make money through the open source software? As I was saying that not always it is important that we have some added functionalities which cost extra. Sometimes it can happen that the open source software is making money through advertisements. So Mozilla Firefox, which is one of our browsing engine, makes money through advertisements. So there, Vanshika's point of that it is freely available stays true. Are we clear on that? Does it make sense? keep your comments coming in, and I will read them as we go. Now that we have understood that what exactly is an open source software, who is the owner of it, and how does an open source software make money, we really should be focusing on some of these tools which we are using daily or often, and we do not even know if they're open source or not. So some of the examples of open source is Android, WordPress, VLC Media Player, the Red Hat, PyTorch, Moodle, Mozilla Firefox, Linux, Python, PHP, Blender, and so on. So many of them. Here, I would like to let you know that it's not always important that an open source is an application tool. It can also be languages such as Python and MySQL. MySQL is not a language, apologies. It can be a language such as Python. Now that we know a bit about open source, even though you might have heard about all of these, there are how many of you use these open source softwares? Have you used any open source software apart from Android? Anything like Linux, Mozilla Firefox, PyTorch, Moodle, WordPress, Python and Brave. Firefox. Akansha, nice. Firefox, MySQL, Python, VLC, Media Player, yes. So now I would like to come to the advantages and disadvantages of open source. In some softwares like Linux, Kansha would know since she is using it, and we all who are not using it, we would know the reasons of not using it. It's because the interface of those softwares is not always user friendly. It can be difficult to understand. It can be when you face any technical error, or you need any technical support. Those are not available easily for open source softwares. That is why these softwares can be, are not really popular, were not really popular. Things are definitely changing in these past few years, and we'll learn why these things are changing. Now, a big question comes. I can be a developer at Microsoft, I can be a developer at Google, I can be doing other things. I can simply do an internship, in my summertime. Why should I contribute to something like open source? So, for us as developers, when we are contributing to open source, we do not have any restriction on the tech stack to be used, because there are so many open source projects that are there in the market. You can find almost all the languages have different kind of open source. This is one thing. Second thing is that collaboration. It teaches you the skill of collaboration. As developers, the more we collaborate, the more we learn these soft skills. And when you're collaborating, when you're learning about new skills, it makes it helps you grow as a person, and it helps you grow as a developer. So that is those are some of the few reasons why you should be contributing to open source. Now that you know that why, now that we have answered the why of the equation, as a beginner, it can be really difficult, and you can just think that how can I contribute to open source, right? So I would talk about that the first point, that is there is not just one way. In open source, almost all the times, people think that only you can contribute through what do we say? through coding and through correcting, bugging, debugging the codes. But that's not true. Just the way you can contribute to a proprietary software, there are as many ways you can contribute in an open source software. An open source software company that is called Red Hat. It is a big Red company where employees do get salary as well, and they're doing their own tasks. So it's not just limited to coders. It is they also have content writers. They also have graphic designers. They also have sales people. They have all kind of people in different ratios as needed. So as a beginner, I would say that just to explore, if you want to explore this field, there's not just one way to contribute. But since we are coders and we like coding and we want to explore more in the coding field, we check the current requirement in a project and find our place. Now, as coders, we have three options to go with. The hierarchy of a project goes like owner, moderators, contributors. These are the three basic people in the hierarchy of a project. Owner is one person or two people or three people or a team of people who made open source. Then they hire some moderators or then they hire some leads who look after the contributors. So if you are good enough in a tech stack, in a particular tech stack, and the project you're eyeing for is looking for, a moderator, then you can go contribute as a moderator. If not, you can also contribute as a contributor. As a beginner, we obviously start with contributions, but like we said, that there's again not just one kind of contribution. Your contribution can be in the documentation part, your contribution can be in the design part, your contribution can be in the user experience part. So there are just limitless opportunities in open source, I would say. So if you're a contributor or if you want to debug or modify some open source software, what you need to check is the guidelines and the code of conduct before contributing, which is also called the read.md file. We'll read about these things more in detail as we go further. So yes. So now that we have learned about that, okay, why should I contribute to open source? I'm convinced I should contribute to open source. What are the ways in which I can contribute? Okay, I'm convinced there are 3 steps to it. Great. Now, how can I find projects related to open source, right? So I would say that there are these sites that are called First Timers Only, First Contributions, Open Source Friday, 24 pull requests, code triage, Python project scripts, and many more. But these 6 are the main ones where you can find the issues. You can find issues to work on. So as you can see, that First Timers Only is a good place to check out issues related to for first timers. This will have beginner level issues where there is not much of technicality involved, and you would not have to delve into the project. And yes, it's beginner friendly. And mostly for beginners, there are a lot of sites, First Contribution, and then 24 pull requests, code triage, and specifically for Python people, since Python is super trending right now. And yeah, we have this PyProject scripts. You have to depend very heavily on, exactly, I agree, Akansha. For open source, there is a lot of dependence in case you have any query, in case you want any kind of service, because most of the open source softwares or most of the open source projects are not founded in the initial stage, right? So only the owner and the small team is handling everything from A to Z. That is why there's a great dependency, there's a great demand, but the supply is also less. Any doubts until now, or anything you guys want to ask? All right, great thing. So now we're gonna move on next part, that is the Git and GitHub part, where we're going to learn about apologies. GitHub part. Here we're going to learn about what is a version control system. As you can see in the name itself, it talks about version, some kind of versions, and controlling those versions, some kind of versions, controlling those versions, and making a system to control those versions. Make sense? In the name itself, you can find out half the meaning, right? So in the version control system, we have mainly two types of VCS, shortly abbreviated, the abbreviation of version control system. The first is a centralized version control, and the second is the decentralized version control, also known as distributed version control. So in the centralized version control, as you can see, you make change in this, you have one project, you make change on that, you make change of that project in this device, then you have to shift it to this device so that everything is in one place. You make some other change of the same project in this device, but you have to shift it to here again so that the changes are recorded in the same place. And then there's another third device where you have to again record the change in this centralized system. So this version, as you can see, and as can you guys guess what is the problem with this centralized version control system? Any guesses? And you make that is good. Yes. Nice one. Inefficient. Yes, it is definitely inefficient. Yes, so like you all said that it's inefficient, it is time consuming, and if this main thing happens, then the service is completely unavailable, or you cannot work further on the project, right? That is why to make a solution of this problem, we have something called decentralized version control, also called the distributed version control. Here what happens is that whenever you're making whatever changes are being made, if the changes are being made in this device, it does not go to this device, it will also be here in this device. And likewise, if the changes are being made in this device, it will also be in this device. So all I mean to say is that all the changes are being recorded in all devices. So there is less dependency on one device. Hence, all the reasons that you guys have said, they get solved in the decentralized version control system. Yes. So coming on to Git and its stages. So what is Git? Git is basically a decentralized version control system, which stores changes in all the systems that which are connected to the network, minded. So it needs some network so that it needs some common network where all of these devices are connected, and then only it can know that okay, I have to record changes of this device or in this device. Otherwise, it could not know. So Git is simply your distributed version control system, where it is not only changing, where it is not only recording changes in the main device, but in the subsidiary devices as well. In this kind of version control system, we have three stages. The first stage is the modification stage. The second stage is the staging stage, and the third stage is the committing space, or just like the pushing space. So what are these? As the name suggests, modification in this, what happens is it is not this stage is not valid for new projects because there's no modification in the new project. But if you talk about old project or existing projects, then in each and every project we are doing 100 modifications every day. So those modifications are recorded in this stage. Once you have modified, you need to let Git know that okay, these are the modifications which I want to apply on my main on my remote repository. So what happens is through staging, you're just letting Git know that please record these changes. I have done them, and I want them to affect the remote repository. Then next comes that we are just right now what we're doing is how our staging and committing phases different is in that in the staging you're just letting them know, but in the committing you're actually applying those changes in the directory. Makes sense? Any confusions up till now? Great, Sakshi. So moving on, we have here the four co-founders of GitHub, Chris, Tom, Scott, PJ. And do you guys know that, who owns GitHub now? Any guesses? One of the FANG or MANG companies have taken, yes, Akansha is right, it's Microsoft. No, Arpita, it's not Google. Yes, Microsoft has taken over Google, so these are your co-founders and former CEOs of GitHub. What is GitHub? How will you guys define GitHub? Again, you all are free to just open your mic and let me know. Any guesses? Anyone who said that they know about GitHub? What exactly do you think GitHub is, and why was it created? A hub of developers for sharing their work and contributing to others' work too. Yes, Sakshi. Yes, so as Sakshi said that it is a hub for developers sharing their work and contributing to others' work too. Bhavna, nice one. GUI for Git so that users can interact easily. In other ways, I would say that because the whole everyone is going online, and the collaborations that are happening are now not restricted to just physical collaborations. It's also happening remotely across countries. We needed a GUI such as GitHub, where we could collaborate and we could monitor, and we could collaborate on projects and monitor the changes being done by the project teammates. So that is what GitHub is. It's a cloud-based platform which stores each of your changes that you're making on its platform, and anyone can view your changes. But it's obviously not. It's restricted to private repositories. Now I would like to just go through GitHub and let you all know. Let's discuss what GitHub exactly is. So when you logged into GitHub, I have my account here. Repositories. These repositories. Is my screen visible? I just want to know.
Yes, it is.
All right, great. So these are the repositories which I have contributed to, or which I was opening, and which were in my feed the most. These are the repositories that are listed here. Here is a feed. Like, I can see what Harshita is doing. I can see what Arishmi is doing. I can see what is Aditya Mangal doing. This feed is basically on the basis of who are you following, right? Now, here you can see that we have pull request. Pull request will come on that soon. Then here you can check out the issues that are. We'll come out. We'll come on it later again. And there's a marketplace where you can find tools to improve your workflow. So there are bots on Discord. There are also bots, or there are also application tools, extensions, which can actually make your workflow easier on GitHub. Because as developers, as small developers, we might not need these tools. But as big organizations which are literally handling like hundreds, thousands of people, contributors around the world, they need such kind of workflow, because they cannot look to everyone's request or everyone's doubts. So these are basically some, I would say, automatic tools. Some automatic, some which help you in your workflow. And yes, we can explore them here. Some free, some are not. And in the explore section, I get to explore different things. In the general explore section, we find out that they found something based on my interests, some repositories. Does everyone get what does it mean by a repository? Then there is topics. So you can search on GitHub based on topics as well. Right now it is, sure, we'll come to it in 1 minute. Right now, we can explore on GitHub using topics as well. Right now it shows the 3 most popular topics. Now, if I click on this topic, I've got a lot of repositories which are related to this topic. So then there is something called trending repositories, collections of repositories and events. So GitHub, you can just find out some events related to your interest and join them. And like this, you can explore the whole hub. Now we're coming to the main thing, that is my own profile. So when you go to your own profile, you have your this here, you have following here. So on the basis of my following, I get to know about my feed. So if I'm only following 3 people, I'm only going to get updates of those 3 people. And here we get to know about organizations. Organizations are basically like like we were discussing that in GitHub, what happens is that you can contribute to other people's code as well. So it's not always that people are people. People can be organizations too. So if I go to this app rights organization, you can see that it is an organization which is an end-to-end backend server for front-end mobile developers, and it has stored all its code on GitHub. It is it is an open source application, and there are different and several ways to contribute to Apple. And once you contribute, or once they like your work enough, they add you in their people or in their organization. And when you're added to their organization, it can be viewed here. Likewise, there's another organization, a small Discord-based community for the geeks. So here is, as they say, that place where you can learn, go and have fun. So basically all your organizations come here. This is your README file. I'll let you know again what is a README file. We'll come to here. And here you can pin your repositories. We can also customize our pins on the basis. So I have these many repositories, and what I can do is I can choose as many as I want to. No, not as many as I want to. Only 6 to pin. So right now I only want to pin the 2 best that I think. Your pins have been updated, okay. Yes. And here, as you can see that I have made these number of creations in the last month. And we can see here, this is basically a daily tab of how many contributions being done. As you can see, it's all my contributions have been on. Last year I have not been really active on GitHub. I need to be, but on each day, if you click, you can see that I have done 3 contributions on December 18th, 2021. So this ways you can track anyone's. Okay, you can track anyone's contributions this way. And then we can see contribution activity, February, nothing. And here I've contributed somewhere. So everything that I am doing, it is being recorded here. All that I've done. Even if I've joined an AppRight organization, it is showcasing it. So this is what, this is where the actual concept of version control system comes. And it's decentralized because it's not important that I only go and see, I can only go and see, I can only go, okay. Yeah, I go to RHVs and I can see his comments, his comment history as well. He has joined which organization, when he has joined, and see contributions in the private repositories cannot be viewed individually, but also all of it is maintained here. And this way, basically, you can view anyone's, and I can see that he's done these many contributions, and he is quite regular. If you see, more regular than me, I believe. Coming back to our repositories. So in a repository, there are 2 things that for one is, I'll open this one, front-end phobia. So one is your files, your .html file, your CSS file, and second is your .md file. Is anyone aware of what is the readme.md file? Anyone? Any guesses? All right. So I'll let you know that a readme.md file is a special kind of markdown file where if you have a readme.md file in your repository, then it gets viewed here. Now I open this PlayStation 1. I see that I have added a readme.md file, and this readme.md file, whatever the contents were in it, these are the contents on it. And it is viewed here. So this is the basic advantage of readme.md file. It is added very recently in GitHub, and it was a feature. It was added because there were so many people interacting with so many people, and we needed to let anyone who's coming to our profile know what the repository is about, what it means, and can we contribute to it, can we not contribute to it. So that is how a README helps, and there is one more exception to a readme.md file, which is if you make a readme.md file from your username. Let me see, where is it? Yeah. So if you make a repository of the same username and you you enter something in the README, whatever contents are being entered in the README file, they will be viewed directly on your profile. Yeah. So that you are basically improving your presentation skills. You're basically letting everyone know in a systematic manner what it is. Not beginners understand the code you're writing, but they can understand through some guidelines which can be presented in form of a readme.md file. MD stands for markdown file. It's nothing. It's just like our, I would say, Word, Notepad, but the syntax and everything can vary a bit since it is a markdown file. Yes, it does. It consists of information about project files. Okay, coming to Kansha's question, I forgot. What are repositories? Here, I'll just 1 minute. Overview, you can see the profile, you can see the pinned repositories, you can see the contributions, and you can link down the contribution activity. Now, repositories are nothing but they are directories. Like in a okay, wait. Yeah, like in our desktop, we have folders. In Hub, we have repositories which act like folders. So repository is nothing but a folder containing our files. Does it make sense, Akansha? So front-end phobia is nothing but a file that contains other files related to that project. Yes. So here, as you can see, that there are some projects. There are some repositories. Each repository. Okay, I'll also like to say that there are repositories which I have made on my own. That is the front-end phobia repository. But there are repositories which I have taken from someone else's profile, and I have basically forked it, and now it is now a copy of it has been made on my profile. So basically, whenever you want to whenever you want to whenever you want to contribute to someone's project, which we'll be talking in some time, what you do is you just go here, you just see, oh, this was so interesting, but the Geeks Discord bot, I want to contribute to it. And you can contribute to it by forking it in any of the in all the organizations you're part of. So in the organizations as well, you can see that, according to the role that you've been given, you will be given those permissions only. So right now I have 2 places I can fork to, and I will obviously fork to Siddhi Gupta. And when I've forked to Siddhi Gupta, you can see here that Siddhi Gupta / Boygeeks Discord bot. So this is how you fork. And then there are, I would say, some other parts to it, which are not important for beginners. So I will just go to the stars part. And here, basically, stars are basically repositories that you have starred, and they come here. So anything that you like, any repository that you like, you can just simply star it, and it will appear in the stars section of your profile. Everyone can see everything in your profile, from your contribution activities to all the repositories you have started, because that is the main aim of open source, to be open about everything that we're doing. Any doubts with GitHub or anything that you guys want me to cover in this thing? Anything that you guys are confused about? Give me a yes if you guys are with me. It's clear, yes. Great. Great, Bhavna. Great, Seema. All right. Now we have learned about GitHub, we've learned about Git, we've learned about version control system, we've learned how we can find projects, we've learned how we can contribute, we have learned about a lot of things, and we're still beginners. So as beginners, we also know how to actually set up Git in our local machine and connect GitHub to it. So I would just like to tell that, there are some jargons used. People will say that setting up Git in your local machine. Local machine is nothing but just a device that you're using. So right now, this thing that I'm working on is my local machine. So I already have my Git installed in it. I would like to call any one of you to come up and let's set up Git and connect our GitHub with our Git. And people also they say that you connect your local machine with GitHub. So everything, all of these small things, mostly the machine, the local machine is referred to your device that you're using or that you're working on. Yes, with that, I would like to invite any one of you to come up and set up Git and connect your GitHub, so that from here on only you guys are ready to. Yes, any volunteers? Any one of you who has a GitHub account already and you do not know how to install Git or how to connect your Git with GitHub? Akansha, would you like to come up? Okay, Vanshika. Vanshika, is it possible to unmute yourself?
Yes, it's possible.
Okay, I think both of us can share a screen right now. No, what we can do is I'll just explain once to everyone how to do it, and then we'll do it with you. You can, you do you have a GitHub account already?
Yes, I have made the account on GitHub.
And do you have a Git account, Git downloaded on your system?
No, it's not.
Great, great. Okay. You are the perfect candidate that we need. So we'll just go through the steps. There are just only 4 or 5 steps, and you just listen to it carefully. And after going to the steps and making everyone understand, we'll do a live demo with you, wherein you need to share the screen and you need to do everything. Will that work?
Okay. Yes, sure.
All right. So, it's a lot of us will think that, oh my God, how do I set up my Git and connect my GitHub? But it's actually very easy. First, what you do is you download Git from the official website. I'll be giving the link in the chat. Then after you finish downloading it, you obviously install the .exe file, and here we are generally confused if the default options are suitable or not. But as beginners and for beginners, yes, the default options are suitable. Then if you haven't already, in our case, that is in Vanshika's case, we have already made a GitHub account. Now, all Vanshika needs to do is note down her username and email ID somewhere, or remember it. Now, what happens is that she has to open her Git bash terminal. Here is in the 4th step, we are connecting our local machine to our remote machine. I would say remote machine here is nothing but your GitHub interface. So do not get confused, because here everyone will be using words like remote, words like local, but it's generally people referring to GitHub and our work laptop that you're working on, right? So first what we do is we do not need any password for it. We just need to config. We just type these 2 commands on our Git bash terminal. We write git config -- global user .name Siddhi Gupta. This is applicable for me. And again, user.email siddhigupta@gmail.com. This is applicable again for me. Here, I would like to tell user.email that a lot of us have different user email IDs. I do, at least. So here you need to be specific that you are putting all the details that are that you've entered in your GitHub account. That is why only the email connected to your GitHub account, you should enter that email here. And this basically is this all is basically valid for Windows. How many of you have Linux or Mac OS here? Anyone? In case you guys do have Mac OS or Linux, great, Akanksha. So in case anyone has or anyone needs any help, then we can then there's a help article which I can link for you all at the end of the session, and you guys can just take help from there. The step is almost the same, but because the interface is different, so it does vary by a few commands, and by something it does vary. Yes, you can, Harsh, actually. But the problem with that is that you always have to log out your first one and then log in your second one, and then log out your second one, then log in your first one. So that either you have to do, because at one point of time, you can only configure one GitHub account.